Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's session, we will learn something about the types of footings. Okay, so basically there are two types of footings, and those are first is shallow foundation and second is deep foundation. Okay, so you can see the particular picture which is showing you the classification amongst these two types, that is shallow foundation and deep foundation. Okay, so by understanding what is shallow foundation and deep foundation, you'll come across these particular figures. Like if I want to explain it to you in a very short manner, then I can explain it to you in this way, that is, whenever hard strata is available at the lower depth, that time we are going to provide shallow foundation. And whenever the hard strata is available greater than 3 meter height, at more than 3 meter height, that time we are going to provide deep foundation. Next is, we need to understand shallow foundation in a detailed manner. Shallow foundation is a kind of foundation or is defined as a foundation in which a depth of footing is less than the width of footing. Based upon the shape of footing, the shallow foundation is categorized as simple footing, simple foundation, okay, then sloped, and you can say this third type is slope, then the second one was stepped. Okay, so now you can see here that the types of shallow foundations are given as follows. First is isolated footing, second is combined footing, third is mat or raft foundation. These are three particular types of shallow foundation based upon the condition in which we are going to provide this. Okay, isolated footing, you can see whenever there is a single one column, that time we are going to provide isolated footing. Combined footing will be provided whenever there will be two columns which are very adjacent to each other. Okay, and third one is a mat or raft foundation, which we are going to provide whenever there are too many columns are adjacent to each other, so that we can cover it in a one slab. So again we are going to learn it in a detailed manner, because I have described these things in a very detailed manner in the next you can say the slide. Okay, so deep foundation is defined as a foundation in which the depth of footing is more than the width of footing. So this is how you can say that your depth of footing is very much higher, or hard strata is not available at the lesser depth, it is available at a very far deep. That time we need to provide deep foundation. There are again two types of deep foundation which we can learn from here, that is types of deep foundation. You can see pile foundation and caisson or well foundation. So pile foundation is, you can see from the picture, you can understood. I have listed the conditions in which we are going to provide the deep foundation, and in which case we are going to provide the shallow foundation. So we will learn it from the next slide. So you can see conditions when isolated footing is placed. So what are those conditions? What are those circumstances under which we are going to consider that we need to place an isolated footing? So the first one is whenever you want to construct an economical footing, or if you are going on an economical side, you can say. So that time you can consider isolated footing, which is very economical. Second one is when the soil bearing capacity is very high. When hard strata is found, that time we are going to calculate the bearing capacity of soil, and if the bearing capacity of soil is much more high or much enough, so that time you can place isolated footing. Okay, third one is when the loads on footings are less. The load which are coming on the footing are less. Okay, so the last one is going to answer you for all these three conditions which are listed prior to this, because if the columns of building are not close spaced, it means your columns are not placed adjacent to each other, they are much more, they are placed at much more distance enough that you need to give a separate footing for each and every column. That time you are going to place an isolated footing. Isolated means individual. For each and individual column, you need to place an individual footing, and that's why we call it as an isolated footing. So isolated footing, you can say, uh, if there is one column only and you are going to provide one footing for one column, that time you can see that the load on footing coming are very less. That time we are going to place this isolated footing. So these are four conditions you can consider, or criterias or circumstances under which we are going to provide isolated footing. Now we will see about combined footing. So conditions when combined footing is placed, or you can call it as the circumstances under which we are going to provide the combined footing. When two columns are close together, causing overlap of adjacent isolated footings. So when there are two columns and which are very adjacent to each other or close to each other, that it is not possible to place individual footings over there because they are overlapping. So that time you need to provide a combined footing. For two columns, you need to provide one single footing. Second one is where the soil bearing capacity is low, causing overlap of adjacent isolated footing. Wherever there is a soil bearing capacity which is very low, that time also we have to provide combined footing. Proximity of building line, property line also you can say. If your footings are going on the property line, that time also we are going to provide combined footing. Or existing building or sewer adjacent to a building column. So if these three things are coming adjacent to the building column, that time you need to provide a combined footing. So this is how, in these conditions, we need to consider the combined footing. So conditions or circumstances under which we are going to provide a mat foundation, okay, or raft foundation also you can call it as. The bearing capacity of soil is weak and not capable of transferring the load of the building to the ground. Okay, whenever there is such condition in which your soil is very weak and is not capable of transferring the load from the building to the ground, that time you need to place the mat foundation. Mat foundation is just like your mat because it is covered, it is covering many of the columns. Okay, so that time you are going to place this kind of footing. A column is placed near the property line and walls are so close that individual footing would overlap. Okay, so again this kind of situation is occurring here, that is your building is going or your column is going near to the property line and you want to provide a footing over there, but isolated footing if you are going to provide over there, so it is not possible because it will require some area, but only some kind of projection by providing mat foundation. If it is possible, then that time we are going to provide mat foundation or raft foundation. Okay, so if the pile foundation cost is higher than the raft foundation, you need to consider whichever is economical. Okay, so you can see that hard strata is available at a shallow depth, or you can say at a very less depth. That time you can provide mat foundation instead of going for the pile foundation, because pile foundation requires a, you can say, it is not economical in that comparison, in that sense. Okay, so we need to consider the way, or you can say the option for the mat foundation or raft foundation. When a spread footing, columns can cover up to 50% of foundation area. Whenever spread footings are covering 50% of column area, that in that case also you can provide this kind of option, that is you can say mat or raft foundation. Okay, so whenever there is a situation you need to provide a pile foundation, those are listed here. In which circumstances you are going to consider the pile foundation, or you can say the deep foundation, in short we can say. If high groundwater table exists beneath the structure, Whenever you are excavating the ground, that time if you appear that the water table exists beneath the structure, that time we have to provide pile foundation. Second case is if the superstructure load is high and not non-uniform. If it is not uniform and load is very high, that time also we have to go for the safer side, and by providing pile foundation or by providing deep foundation, we can make the structure strong enough to overlay that all the loads, or you can say carry those all loads. Okay, pile foundation is economic than other proposed foundation types. Whenever there is such case that pile foundation, you if you feel economical, that time also you can go for that side. If highly compressible soil is present at shallow depth, in some areas there is highly compressible soil. Black cotton soil is very highly compressible, which can expand as well. That time also we need to consider for this pile foundation or deep foundation part. If the structure is located near the river bed or sea shore, etc., pile foundation is suggested to secure the structure from the possible scoring, you can say. Scoring, you can understand it in better manner. If a canal or deep drainage system pass near the structure, pile foundation is suggested. Okay. So whenever there will be the water structure, that time you need to consider the pile foundation. Again, wherever there will be the bridges, so below that bridges or below that piers of bridges, you need to consider the pile foundation. If soil condition is very poor and it is not possible to excavate the soil up to the desired depth, that time also you have to consider the pile foundation. If it becomes impossible to keep the foundation trenches dry by any measure due to heavy inflow of seepage, that time also you have to provide the pile foundation. So these are some things, these are some conditions I have listed here under which we can provide the pile foundation. Okay, so these are some types of footings and the criterias under which we can provide different types of footings. So I hope you guys got some good knowledge in today's session. So the same way I will bring one new topic in next my session. Okay, so stay tuned. Thank you, and if you like my video, please like and subscribe. Thank you guys.